This is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey.
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke.
He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Friday, and we shouldn't be here today. We should be at home, kicking our feet up, resting, and not on the show, but it is political season. It's that time of year. It's good and bad. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But we are here tonight because we have a candidate interview. We are still on the candidate interview train, and we're going to get to that in a few moments. But it is a Friday night. This is episode 648 of the Political Spotlight. I, of course, am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey. Producer Kate is down below doing what she does. If you could be so kind to smash that like button and hit all of the YouTube things, we would be great if you could do that. I obviously am not in the studio. It's been the first time that I've been out of the studio since we've been in the new studio, and it kind of feels weird. It feels weird to be back at this camera angle again and doing things, so I'm going to have to remember what I'm doing. Styling and profiling. Yeah, I got a haircut today, finally. Will Smith doesn't have to cuss to sell albums, but I do, so you know the rest of that. Yeah, I hear Rob Kendall gets his hair cut every 4 weeks. And, back when I was on the police department, I did that. I did it about every 2.5 weeks, whether I needed it or not. And when I got out of that kind of mindset, I was like, I'm never going to do that again. Never going to do that again. And so now I try to get it cut high and tight, do what I need to do, and then not get it for as long as possible. And I know I need to get on a regular routine, but it's so much nicer when it's cut. But I just hate doing it. It's such a waste of time, waste of energy. I have so many other things I could be doing the whole time. I didn't even wear my glasses in today, and I told the lady right when I sat down, I said, I left my glasses in the car, which means I can't see anything, so I'm going to close my eyes. I'm here if you need something. I'm not asleep, but my eyes are I completely was blind through everything because I had my eyes closed the entire time. I loved it. It was amazing. But yeah, so enough about the haircut. I'm glad we're here. Everybody gets to see it, and now we can shut up about it. But all right, so tonight we have. It's interesting. I didn't plan it, and specifically, I didn't plan it this way because I originally had it set up differently, and for some scheduling issues, we had to move some things around. So this is the only batch of candidates where we've heard from literally pretty much everyone back to back to back to back. It started out Wednesday. We heard from Tim Holmes, who's running in this race as a Republican. We then heard from the other side on the Democrat ticket. We heard from Judge Amanda Dunnick last night. And now tonight we are going to be hearing from the other Democrat candidate in that race for Delaware County Circuit Court 5. We're going to be talking with Maricel Driscoll, and I think that's probably the way. I'm going to have to ask her. I want to make sure that I'm saying her name right, but we'll ask her as soon as we get her pulled up here. Maricel is currently a Delaware County prosecutor, and I know some people are going to go, oh, no, that's bad, Delaware County prosecutor, whatever. But, it takes all kinds, and we need prosecutors and public defenders and civil attorneys, so, it is what it is. Kind of takes after my my mindset coming from the law enforcement side of things. She's been in the prosecutor's office since 2016, so going on 10 years. That's a pretty decent amount of time in the prosecutor's office. Delaware County seems like East Central Indiana is a lot different than a lot of other places. Generally, in the legal world, prosecutors' offices and public defenders' offices are where new lawyers go to kind of get trial experience and get courtroom experience and kind of cut their teeth, do a couple of years, and then get out and go on to make some crazy money in their private practice or for some big firm or something like that. But Delaware County, and it seems like most of East Central Indiana, really a lot of places in Indianapolis, Marion County, Madison County, Delaware County, Randolph County, Jay County, Henry County, the prosecutors and the deputy prosecutors kind of stick around, which from my point of view, I think that's a good thing in a lot of ways, because you get really qualified, trained, and experienced prosecutors and deputy prosecutors. And in my opinion, I think that's a good thing. Before working in the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office, she worked in the Attorney General's office from 2013 to 2016. She has been able to practice law, has been a licensed attorney since 2012. And although she's not been a lifelong Delaware County resident, she is from Indiana. She went to high school and graduated in Peru, went to Ball State University for her undergraduate, and then went to Cooley Law School in Michigan. And so we're going to be bringing her up here in just a moment, and we'll be talking with her as we have the rest of the candidates. After the interview, we will be talking a bit about the nonsense from last night with the sheriff's candidates on the Boss Hogs of Liberty podcast down in Henry County. We'll be talking about the Henry County Sheriff's race and how Sproles is kind of continuing to make himself out to look like a complete idiot. So we'll be talking about all of that and more, so hang tight for that. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring up our candidate. And no, it's literally, I look thinner because I've cut all that hair off and shaved. It's amazing. Shaving and cutting the hair off makes me look like I've dropped about 10 pounds automatically. So that is a good thing. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring up our candidate, one of the two Democrat candidates running for Delaware County Circuit Court 5 Judge, Maricel Driscoll. Am I saying your name right?
You are not. It's Maricel.
Say it. Maricel.
Yeah.
Maricel. Okay, Maricel. Yeah. All right. I didn't think that I was.
That's all right.
Maricel Driscoll. Okay, now we've got it. So, all right. Well, it looks like that to me, Maricel. So yeah, I guess that'll be easy. So, welcome to the program, and as we do with everybody, for those that may or may not know you, just why don't you give everybody like an overview of who you are and why you're doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me and giving us this opportunity to speak to some of the constituents. My name is Maricel Driscoll. I am currently a deputy prosecutor, have been now for going on 10 years. Prior to becoming a deputy prosecutor, I was a deputy attorney general, like you indicated, with the Attorney General's office. A little bit about me, like you said, I grew up military. My dad was proudly served for 21 years in the U.S. Air Force. So we were kind of a little bit everywhere. And then he decided to finally retire out of Grissom Air Force Base in Peru, Indiana. So that's kind of where we settled. Graduated from high school there, came to Muncie, went to Ball State, did my thing here at Ball State, graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice and criminology, with a minor in political science. And then from there, I kind of went in, told myself I was going to give myself a little break. When I was at Ball State, I did my undergrad internship at the prosecutor's office. So I really got to know a lot of the people there. The prosecutor-elect now, Eric Hoffman, was working there at that time. A lot of the attorneys now here locally were working there at that time. So I got to know a lot of the attorneys here locally. And then from there, decided, I'm going to take a little break from school. I actually went into the restaurant industry, went into restaurant management, and did that for about 9 years before I finally said, okay, you know what? I don't want to be in the restaurant anymore. I've had enough of this. And so decided I'm going to take myself to law school, went to law school up in Michigan at Thomas M. Cooley Law School in Lansing, graduated from there, and then came back home. And I actually came back to Muncie. For me, Muncie really felt like home. I still had a lot of connections here. And with that, it automatically drew me back in. One, I knew I still had connections within the prosecutor's office. I knew eventually that was going to be something that I wanted to do. So from there, I went to Indianapolis. I commuted from Muncie every day to Indianapolis for those, almost 4 years. And then an opening came up here for a new domestic violence prosecutor. Prosecutor Jeff Arnold had started a domestic violence unit or crimes against women unit. And I was the first deputy prosecutor brought into that. And so that's kind of where I started and kind of where my world of criminal law kind of grew. And so like you said earlier, a lot of times in prosecutors' offices, you see a lot of young attorneys come in because it is a great place to come in, get your feet wet, and just dig in and learn the rules of evidence and learn how to try a case and learn how to ask people questions. And so for me, I kind of like latched onto that. I had a lot of great mentors within the office. I learned a lot from many different some are still here, some are now retired, and have been able to extend my knowledge as far as criminal law goes. Now, after, I started out in just doing the domestic violence cases. From there, I transitioned into a major felony court, and I transitioned into Circuit Court number 3 under Judge Raylu Wolf. And so I practiced under her for a number of years. Again, all major felonies, thefts, all the way up, to murder cases. And now I'm in Circuit Court 1 under Judge Judy Calhoun. So any cases that come through her court are mine, essentially, as prosecutors. Chris, as you know, within the prosecutor's office, what we do is it's the prosecutor making the decision on what cases to file. So for me, anything that comes in during my criminal month now becomes my case as a deputy prosecutor. Going into a little bit of why I decided to run is, we had a seat opening up. And at that point, it's you're not running against an incumbent. At that point, it's an open seat for anyone who feels, hey, you know what? Why not now? Sure. I've been doing this now for 14 years. Really, the judicial seat is kind of a natural progression for prosecutors. If you look at really the history, especially here in Delaware County, a lot of our bench comes from the prosecutor's office. And so for me, I've got 6-year-old twin girls, and I want to make sure that they have a safe community to grow up in. And so a lot of that focus is focused around them. I'm doing what I'm doing now. And so that's kind of my why on why I'm running now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think that it's interesting. Delaware County's had a pretty rich history of women on the bench as well. And yes. I think that's, there's always been a pretty good mix of both men and women on the bench, and Delaware County's always been pretty good. For most of my life, there's always been a pretty good, fair balance, as far as, of the people running, the people going out, and who Delaware County has decided to put on the bench. It's always been a pretty good mix, and I think that's always interesting because you don't really see that in a lot of places.
Right.
So I guess just asking you straight out, a question that I hear from a lot of people, and it always gets kind of put back to me, and I hear what people are saying. What do you say to people who say, she's coming from the prosecutor's office, she's going to be she's going to be more pro, lock them up, throw away the key. It's going to be that hard line, and she's not going to be more willing to, hear the defendant's side or see that. What do you say about somebody that, because obviously on the bench, you're the bias is removed, or supposed to be.
Right.
And so what do you say to people who worry about that? And specifically with Delaware County having such a prosecutorial, like that being the background of most of the judges in Delaware County, what do you say to combat that?
For me, it's just because I'm a prosecutor. Yes. Do I look at the Constitution? Do I look at what the statutes are in making those charging decisions? Absolutely. And here's the thing is, as a prosecutor, in making those types of decisions, I would almost say that it weighs a little bit heavier than even a judicial seat, in that we're making those decisions as prosecutors that are so consequential, that can impact lives, in making that decision, even just to file charges. But that aside, when you take the bench, you're ensuring that you're going to be transparent, you're ensuring that you're going to be impartial, and that you're going to see the law as it is. Because in my job, if I were to take the bench, would be interpret the law as it's written. I'm not making law. I'm not writing the law. That's for the legislature to do. What I'm doing is I'm interpreting that law and applying it to the facts of the case. Whereas a lot of that is going to be very similar to what I already do now in making those determinations on what cases to charge. But in the same breath, while we do have heavy prosecutor background in our judicial seats now, with, Circuit 1 has Judge Calhoun, was a former prosecutor. Circuit 2 is Judge Ramirez, who is a former prosecutor. Circuit 3 is Judge Mayhor, who's a former prosecutor. But it goes deeper than that in Delaware County's history. Judge Caldemeyer, Judge Barnett, Judge Robert Robinson, Judge A.J. Hall. I mean, it goes back. And it's not even just the local judges. If you look to our Supreme Court history with the Supreme Court of Indiana, they have history of being deputy prosecutors. Judge Massa, Judge Rucker. I mean, it's not uncommon for a prosecutor to take that step. It's really more of a natural progression. But for me, in my background, when I look at somebody who says that, for me, it's they've never seen me in a courtroom. They've never seen how I've handled cases.
Sure.
I do have my regular duties in Circuit Court 1, where I'm trying cases, I'm trying, jury trials and plea agreements and all the like. But another aspect of what I do, and it's something that I have volunteered to do, is I help facilitate and run our drug court and veterans court program. And that is an alternate program. So that's not the lock them away, throw away the key, because that's not the goal of that program. So I say to a lot of my participants, you'll notice you're in this courtroom now. We're here for drug court. If you haven't noticed already, you'll notice the atmosphere in this courtroom is a lot different than the atmosphere down the hall, because the atmosphere in this courtroom has different goals. And what we're doing today is we're trying to help you make the right decisions, help you, stay in recovery, and help you move forward. So for me, I've seen all sides. And so it's not just because I'm a prosecutor, I'm there to throw away the key. That's not what my goal is. My goal is, as a prosecutor, is to ensure justice for crimes that have been committed, to be the voice for those who can't speak for themselves. That's my goal as a prosecutor. But in the same breath, as a judge, I mean, I want everybody to know they can come in front of me and they're going to be treated just the same. Not because of their background or however they grew up. They're not going to be treated any differently. And so for me, I don't think having that prosecutor background is a hindrance to taking the bench.
Okay. Yeah, good. So you brought up a question I've been asking all the other candidates for judge. You brought up, trials and plea bargains, and that's something that attorneys get questioned with all the time. And you hear a lot of gripes about the legal system, about the plea bargains. Oh, they're always too soft, or, this or that. What's your take on plea bargain? Obviously, it's a tool that has to be used. It's never going to not be used. It's going to be something that's going to be used. But do you think that, specifically speaking in Delaware County's judicial system. Do you think that they're currently overused? Do you think that they need to be ratcheted back some? What's your thought and take on the plea bargain?
On that, here's the thing: is plea bargains are a necessary evil. Unfortunately, we can't.
I was going to say that, and I was trying to not make it sound so bad, but yes.
No, I get it. But there are benefits, there are pros and cons to plea agreements. When I look at a plea agreement, do I think they're overused in Delaware County? No, I do not. And I say that because we have trials going on a weekly basis. So it's just to keep that caseload moving, and in order to, to keep justice moving, it's just one of those things that we have to do. But in talking about that, one thing as a prosecutor that I do is I do weigh, say it's a child case and there's a child victim, am I going to re-traumatize them by putting them on the witness stand? How are they going to do up there? Is it just going to make it worse? I have those hard conversations. I have the hard conversations with the kids. I have the hard conversations with the parents about, let's weigh out what we think might be the most beneficial and what would be the best outcome. Because that's one thing that I will say with Eric Hoffman that he is always, ensured is you need to be talking to the victims and making sure that they at least know what you're doing and get somewhat of a say, because they have rights too. So like I said, though, I don't think they're overused. I think they are a necessary evil. Otherwise, we would be so backlogged with trials, it would be unreal. And in some of those cases, it's just not reality. A lot of times as a judge, you're not going to see why why the counsel has come to that decision. So as a prosecutor and defense attorney, we may have discussions. We may talk about, the problems with the case, some of the weaknesses. Defense may say, these are your strengths, but let's see if we can come to the middle and weigh out those strengths and weaknesses to determine, is this a case that needs to go to trial, or is this a case that we can resolve outside of trial? And those are some of the things that we look at. And as a judge, they may not always see why a case comes to a decision. I could have, especially Chris, in your background, domestic violence cases, a lot of times, we don't have a participating victim. A lot of times they just want the violence to stop, and that's why they've called the police. So sure. We have to try to build those cases around that. And if we can't make our case, if say the victim was on board day 1, we get to day 90 and they're like, you know what, I'm out, we're back together, I just want this to go away, then I can no longer meet my burden for trial. So then we start talking, let's see how we can resolve this, and maybe resolve this in a manner that is suitable to all parties, and then be able to move forward and move on to the next cases.
Sure. Yeah, certainly. Very good. This just popped up a citizen, well, yeah, it is a citizen from Delaware County specifically, but a viewer here has asked a question, and I guess I've never really asked, I haven't asked any of the other candidates this, but I will ask you this with the caveat that I understand
sure.
You might have to be careful how you answer this, but
yeah.
From your position where you are now as a candidate running for judge, what is your take on the death penalty? Are you pro-death penalty, not for the death penalty? And I don't know if you can specifically answer that or not, but what's your take with death penalty? It's we've not had a death penalty case come in Delaware
right.
County for a very long time,
right?
And it's not something that happens, but something could happen. You know how it is. Something could happen tomorrow, and it could be a situation. So what's your thoughts on that topic?
Absolutely, and like I said before, here's the thing: is as a judge and as a judicial candidate, the law is what it is. If the law allows for the prosecutor to make that decision, and the prosecutor to say, this is a case that I want to move forward and put the death penalty on the table, then as a judicial candidate as well as a judge, I've got to abide by the law. But it's out there, and it is there for the most heinous of cases. keeping in mind that the particulars for a death penalty case are very, very strict and stringent. And I think that's why we don't see them very often, because of what all it takes statutorily. But if the law allows for it, I'm interpreting the law and I'm following the law as a judge.
Sure. You know, it's interesting. I normally don't do the candidate interviews with judge candidates because I'll be honest, they're normally fairly boring interviews because honestly the answer is I'll follow the law. I'll follow the law. I can't answer that. I'll follow the law. You know, I will apply the law. And that's basically, I mean, you know what I mean, for a good candidate, that's pretty much the answer. But we've had you know, we have some really big judges that are leaving the bench in this year, and some really important elections. We've had, you know, in the past we've had some, well, in the last couple of years we've had runs, but normally in Delaware County we'll have one person step up and it just kind of is a, you know, this person's going to take over. But you know, with there being so much interest in candidates on, you know, more than one candidate on both sides, I thought this year would be a pretty important time to look at the judge candidates, and so that's why we're doing this and getting you guys all on here. But moving ahead to another question, and it's I'm going to say this, and this is just me talking. You don't have to add on to this. It will be a question here. I know that there's going to be people that vehemently disagree with me here, but I just have to say, I feel like Delaware County Prosecutor's Office, moreover specifically your boss Eric Hoffman, takes an unfair amount of beating over the whole child predator thing, because Eric has taken a stance that he won't work with the freaks that go out and do it online and are just doing it. And I am 1000% behind his reasoning for not doing that. I understand why citizens just armchair quarterbacking, Monday morning quarterbacking. I understand why they look at that and it doesn't sit well with them. You know, I get why they're not okay with it, but coming from the world of law enforcement, having been a police officer and working in the prosecutor's office, I fully understand why he does that. And it blows my mind some of the small counties around here and other counties around here that actually work with those people, because there's just so much problem there, and there's so much the chances of something bad happening as a result of what's going on is really bad there. So my question's not really about that specifically, but just about crimes against children in general, and your approach to that as a judge. You know, what's your thought on, you know, do we need? Obviously, everyone's going to say we need to be tougher on defendants, but you know, talk a little bit about your approach to that if you are elected as judge.
You know, I think I would approach it a lot like I said before. You know, I do this every day right now, and have to weigh the pros and cons of dealing with those types of cases. As a judge, one thing that we have to make sure and we focus on is community safety, and that includes the children in our community. A lot of times when I'm prosecuting cases and they're dealing with children, a lot of times I look at these victims and I see my own children. And maybe that's why I aggressively prosecute those types of cases. Because I think of all the things that they've gone through, and then I look at my kids. As a judge, I'm still weighing that community safety. That's always going to be one of those top priorities, is to ensure that our community remains safe, be it from child predators, be it from murderers, whatever that might be, at the end of the day, each case is going to be different. Each case is weighed out. It's very fact sensitive. And so in handling those cases and dealing with sentencings in those cases, they're so fact sensitive. It is tough to answer that question because I don't know what their background is. In sentencing somebody, you're looking at how they grew up. You're looking at their criminal history, their juvenile history. You're looking at everything, really. But at the same time, as a judge, what I will say is I will make sure that I will not lose the fact that there's a victim and focus solely on the defendant. Because at the end of the day, there is somebody impacted. There is somebody that's been hurt, and they have rights as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so just currently with everything going on moving into next year, when the new judges will be taking the bench, with everything currently going on over the last couple of years, how do you feel about just the overall judicial culture, the judicial system in Delaware County? Do you think that we need improvement overall? Do you think that we're where we need to be? What's your take on just the overall judicial culture in Delaware County?
I like the judicial culture as it is right now. I think it's moving in a great direction. Do we need improvement? We can always improve. I mean, there's different things that we can improve on, and in looking at those, and some of the things that we think about is how long a case takes to get to trial, from start to finish. Because at the end of the day, justice delayed is justice denied. Yeah. So there are rules and statutes for a reason. So are there places we can improve? Absolutely. And I think that goes without saying. And when you get really a new group of individuals together that are going to be the judges, because we're bringing in 2 new judges this next year. So that in and of itself will bring freshness to the judicial system, and it'll bring new ideas, and it'll bring, just a change of pace for everybody. But I like how the judicial culture is now, and I do think it's moving in a great direction.
Yeah, and talking about kind of the newness to the bench, and there's pros and cons to that, but sure. It's not just the 2 new judges. We'll have Judge Ramirez, who's only been on for, by next year it'll be 2 years, right, going into that. Judge Calhoun's only been there for 3 or 4 years, so a good percentage of the overall judges are going to be fairly new, and I think you lose some experience with that, some judicial experience. Sure. But I also feel like judges, just like police officers or firemen, at the end of a career, you have to be there. There is a mental toll that takes right on you, and however well you are at kind of separating that out and decompartmentalizing and whatnot, or compartmentalizing rather, I guess, either one. It does take a toll on you, and so it's kind of good to have fresh new people in, and that is important. What is your take on? I've not asked you all this, but I asked your opponent last night. But I'm interested in what you say. I wish I would have asked everybody. Right now, Delaware County, not just Delaware County, Indiana as a whole does not allow media recording in court proceedings, specifically like larger trials or whatnot. Right. And I don't know that there's specifically legislation going in that direction, but as I don't consider myself a journalist, I'm a political commentator, but I do fall under the larger umbrella of media, and I do have journalistic thoughts in my mind. And so from my perspective, I see the pros and cons to that as well, but I am one that pushes for as much transparency as possible and sunlight. What's your take on that? Do you think that that's something that should be allowed, should not be allowed, and maybe your reasoning behind that?
Yeah. Do I think it should be allowed? I think so. I think that our courtrooms are open already, right? So they're open to the public. Anybody can come. Anybody can watch. I think I would have some stipulations to that. Obviously, any child cases where there's children victims and that sort of thing, and we've got minors involved. I don't think that should happen because, once it's out there, it's always out there, and they're already reliving and being traumatized by having to be on the stand. So I don't think we need to, save that in internet history to be pulled up however many years down the road. But I do think that, in my world, obviously, I see it all the time. But as I'm out in the community, I'm talking to people, a lot of people don't follow what's going on as far as all the different crimes that are being committed in our community. And if cameras in the courtroom would allow more knowledge to be out there, more awareness to be out there, and maybe it's more awareness so that we're preventing crimes from happening. Because if they see something that they've seen, this person was doing this, and this, hey, Joe down the road was doing that same thing, maybe that's a red flag for me, or somebody's acting however around my child, that's a red flag for me. I think it could raise awareness. However, I also think there will be individuals that will play it up to a camera. And just want their 15 minutes of fame, and will do and say whatever they can say because they know the TV camera's there. And I think that could be a real hindrance to the judicial system.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons there, and I think obviously steps would have to be taken to protect the most vulnerable children and whatnot. But and I think that you'd have to get past the and I think that maybe for a minute you'd have people playing up to the camera. I would like to think that if it was like something that was just ongoing, that eventually they would just that would be another thing, and that would kind of lose its appeal. But I'm asking this is a selfish thing because I don't see us going in that direction anytime soon. We probably will never go there, but I definitely would like to see that happen, specifically in some of the bigger cases, like you said, because I feel like people just really don't know, and I think that would be maybe an selfishly, again, I think that would be maybe an eye opener, and it would help people maybe get more engaged. I think maybe it would draw people to be more interested and understanding in the elections for prosecutor, elections for judge, elections for sheriff, some law enforcement roles. I think that would be big. Moving on, but before we let you go, and I know we're kind of wrapping it up here, but I know that obviously Delaware County is facing kind of questions on what's happening financially over the next couple of years, and there's a lot of things going on there, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and everybody's being asked to do more with less. And what's your opinion about how, if elected to the bench, you could streamline things? Do you have thoughts about things that you might be able to improve, or ways to kind of do more in less time with less people? What's your thoughts about that?
When it comes to cutting costs, here's the thing, is when it comes to public safety, it's not a good idea. Just bottom line, it's not. There are a lot of lives on the line. There are a lot of things that we have to think about. Doing more with less in the courts is just asking for appeals. And it's asking for cases to be overturned. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, costs more money, because then it comes back and we have to do it again. But I mean, again, like I said, there are always rooms for improvement. specifically when I look at, like I said, the time it takes for a case to get to trial. Some of our courtrooms, have cases that have been there for years, 4, 5, 6 years. I will say that in Circuit Court 1 with Judge Calhoun, what my experience has been, and what I would likely do as well on the bench, is Judge Calhoun keeps her docket very tight and keeps it so that cases, once a case is filed, you have a year. Once you hit that year mark, she holds counsel's feet to the fire. And that's the state, that's defense. At some point, it's either, once we hit a year, it's okay, we're either pleading this or we're trying it. So you've had enough time to figure it out. Now's the time to make that decision. And I think that's great because, one, it keeps the cases moving. You don't see an exorbitant amount of continuances. I've had victims come to me and say, and this is in the past, have said, how many continuances does the defense get? Well, as the state, I have 365 days, period. But if a defense continues that, that's obviously going to go beyond the 365 days. So I think Judge Calhoun has a great philosophy in how she operates her docket. And I think that would allow us to do more with less, because then we're not piling cases upon cases upon cases on attorneys. And then you don't have a caseload of 400, 500, 600 cases. You can keep it minimal, around 200. Just by keeping the cases moving and keeping everything just in a nice streamlined fashion, I think that would help. But as far as cutting positions, like I said, I think it's asking for appeals, and at the end of the day, it's just going to cost more money.
Absolutely. I definitely understand where you're coming from there, and I can agree a lot with what you're saying there. And like you said, at the end of the day, costing more money. People don't realize that we can take steps to remove steps, and we can cut steps out. But at the end of the day, if that just makes it that much worse on the other side, it doesn't really do much. But that's a good answer. I do want to ask this, and this is something I think is an oversight of mine that I haven't asked, but have you seen, either in your position now, or do you foresee in the coming months, definitely a question for years, do you see AI being used in the courtrooms in ways to assist or to help? What's your thoughts on that? Or have you had time to think about anything like that?
I haven't really had time to think about that, but I will say, when AI is terrifying. Let me just start there.
Yes.
The things that people can do with AI and you not realize it's AI is problematic.
Absolutely.
Do I think it could help? I think it could help if you have AI doing transcripts. That saves time from our court reporters. That saves time because a lot of times the transcripts are as we go.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know that I've really thought about it more in detail to assist the courts.
Well, no, that's, and it's funny because you see these questions like, could I represent myself without an attorney using AI? And
bad idea.
Horrible idea. Very bad idea. And while AI is an interesting tool, and I will admit that we use AI here primarily in the coming up with pictures for we don't really do thumbnails anymore, but that thing kind of like thumbnails for videos, or I will use it to do satirical posts of current public officials or candidates, And when I do that, I'm always very careful to make sure that it's like definitely. I'll try to use more of a cartoon than a real life picture, because I'll be really honest. I have taken pictures of elected officials, and just like a headshot.
Yeah.
Said, okay, put this elected official in this state or in this situation doing this thing, and it does it, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, that's scary to me, and I'm like, I can't do that. So I always try to do it like with the cartoon, so people can see. Yeah. Obviously, this is not real. This is it's satirical. I'm not trying to say, look, this happened. I'm trying to say this is political satire, and this is what this is, and that gets me in trouble sometimes too. Right. But I still do my very best to make sure that people are aware that, like, hey, I know that this is not real, and I'm not trying to say that this is real, and it's scary, just that. But yeah, I think it's going to be something, and it's not. We can't put it back in a box. It's here, and it's just going to be like, how do we deal with this? And I think that it's going to solve a lot of problems, but it's going to create so many other problems that I think people can't even remotely think about at this point. But yeah, very good. Okay, let me just ask you. So when you're talking to people and you're going out and campaigning door to door, making phone calls or doing your thing, give us your doorstep stump speech. Why should people elect you on Tuesday, May 5th over your opponent?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, I come from a military family. So I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from my dad about discipline, about resilience, about service over self. In this campaign and everything that I've been doing, it's been a focus on the community, because for me, community's first. As a mother, I think about the type of community, again, that I want my children to grow up in, that I want everybody else's children to grow up in. Somewhere that's safe, somewhere that's going to be supportive of them no matter what, and somewhere that's just. I'm committed to doing the work. I'm out there doing the work. I'm in the community. I'm involved in the community in various aspects. And that's not going to stop. Regardless of how this turns out, what I do now is what I will continue to do. And it's to invest in this community, to ensure that we have a safe, supportive community for everybody. And that's why I'm running for judge. And that's why I'm asking for people's support. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about me. It's about this community as a whole. And so that's kind of what I'm, trying to get out there and what want people to understand. And Chris, and I was watching last night when you were talking to my opponent, and one thing that came up was about experience. And I just want to address that a little bit, because when people tell me I don't have enough experience, I want to look back at with my opponent. My opponent was licensed to practice law in October of 2003. She took the bench in city court in June of 2015, 11 years of experience. Judge Ramirez, licensed in October of 2014, took the bench in January 2025, 10 years of experience. I'm at 14 years of experience. So when people say that I don't have enough experience, I do. I've got the civil experience, I've got the criminal experience, I've got the state experience, I've got the federal experience. And most importantly, I have the community experience. So I'm out there, I'm involved in the boards within the community. I'm on the trustees advisory board now for Center Township. So I'm doing what I can to invest in this community. And I will continue to do that moving forward. My experience is not just legal experience. My experience extends beyond the courtroom and into the community. And that's why I ask for people's support.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And I'll be honest, I think it's pretty big that, You said that you were watching last night. People are
Yeah.
normally really weird about that. I don't know why. I wish more people. That's the whole reason I started doing this, because
Yeah.
in my opinion, I'll be honest, most politicians let you down and piss people off, and it's
Absolutely.
never good and whatever. And so most of my job is hammering the officials that are disappointing people. And I always have to do this, put on the nice hat to do the candidate interviews a couple times a year. And I hate them. I hate having there's so much going on, and I have to put so much on the back burner for it. But I think it's important for people to hear.
Absolutely.
And there's so many people who'll be like, I'm not going to come on because I don't like you or you don't like me. And I'm like, dude, you're so confused. That's so little thinking. It's not about me and you.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I'm even my worst enemy. I might push back on things, but I'm going to give them the level of respect to come on and talk to the people and let the people make their minds up. That's what this is about. You know what I mean? And the whole thing is, when you do candidate forums and people get up and you're asked 2 or 3 questions and you're given 2 minutes to respond, nobody can tell anything. And I think these type of conversations, even though the questions might not at this point be hard pressing or whatnot, it's just a conversation, and it gives people a chance to see people's personality. Is there some charisma there? Can you talk? Can you carry a conversation? Are you a normal individual? And so I think things like that make people normal. When you're like, hey, I was watching last night, and so many people are scared to say things like that. And so I think that's a kind of a breath of fresh air, and I appreciate that. And so I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk with us. And you're, as we have said to everyone else, we wish you luck, and you're welcome back on if you are successful in May. You'd be welcome back on in the fall. And if you win, that will probably be our extent of talking to you really until you run again. As a judge, you can't really comment on anything.
Right.
But if, God forbid, you don't, you still stay in the prosecutor's office, you're welcome to come on if there's things that you ever need to say or whatever. So you're welcome back on anytime is what I'm saying. I appreciate that, and good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was current Deputy Prosecutor Maricel Driscoll, and she is running for Delaware County Circuit Court 5 judge. We have now had 3 of the 4 candidates on. I have asked the 4th candidate. There are 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. The Republicans are Tim Holmes, who we had on, and Ben Freeman. Those are the 2 Republicans, and then Amanda Dunnick and Maricel Driscoll. And so we've heard from both Democrats. We've heard from Tim Holmes, and we're now waiting for you, Ben. You are welcome to come on here. We will treat you fair. I'm not a big fan, but we'll give you the respect of your 30 minutes or so and let you say your piece and go from there. But, you can do what you want to do. I do want to say this because I slipped up and I didn't say this while she was here. Maricel does have a Facebook page, and I totally messed that up when she was on. You can find that by going to Maricel Driscoll for Judge on Facebook. So you can find that if you look for her. She also has a website, which is just driscollforjudge.com. So like we've said for everybody else, if you're interested in connecting with her, you can go there and find out more and post what you any questions that you might have or yada yada yada. So you can always do that. From there, I do want to let me make sure I got that right. Hold on. It's so weird being away from all of my equipment and not having the same thing. R-O. Okay, yeah. Okay, I got that right. I was like, I don't think that looks right, but yeah, it's right. Okay, so we are going to talk about Sproles here in just a second, and we're going to get there. I do want to quickly answer a question that Carrie asked, and I starred that. Does Muncie have the Anderson cop that was arrested for dealing drugs in their court system? The answer, as far as I know that to be, is no. It's not. It's going to be in the federal court system. It won't be in Delaware County's court system. It will be in the federal court system. The reason when that arrest took place, that he came to Delaware County, was because he had been an Anderson cop, and concerning the crimes that he was arrested for, I think that they were trying to see about getting other people wrapped up in that, and they didn't want it to go through the criminal justice system. Oh, hey, did you hear so-and-so's in the Madison County Jail? And so I think they brought in. Why they didn't take him to Indianapolis is kind of beyond me, but they put him in Muncie in Delaware County for that, but he's not in our court system. I think it's going to be a federal situation. So I wanted to she may have had an answer to that, but I don't know. I don't know if she would have or not. And that's to the best of my knowledge. There may be something a little off here or there on that, but I'm pretty sure I think that is what I'm saying is an accurate statement there. I will look into that, and I will double check. And here coming up in the next couple of days, I will get you an answer to that. But I'll put it to you this way: I know for a fact he's not in the Delaware County court system, so I believe it's going to be through the federal court system. What I could be wrong on is maybe that won't happen. Maybe he'll end up being in Delaware or Madison counties, and they would ask special prosecutors and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure it's in the federal court system. What I know for a fact is it's not in Delaware counties because, that's where we are on that. So that's that. I haven't heard anything about it in a while, but I will tell you, the wheels of justice roll slowly. They roll backwards federally. We think that local state cases, which all criminal cases locally are state cases, we think that those take forever, and they do. But as long as a state case takes, the federal system is even longer. So it's not abnormal to me that we haven't heard anything more from that. So I'll keep you posted. I'll find out what I can hear. I haven't heard anything about it in a while either, so I haven't been looking into it, but I will see what we can find out about that. Okay, so on to Sproles. It's been a busy last 24 hours for the team Sproles. Connie is going against her brother's wishes and is on social media and is doing her best to get herself into a defamation, slander, and libel suit. I don't understand. These people must love getting served. It's like some weird perversion they have or something. I don't know. Like, they must love being on the wrong side of the civil court room. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But for as much craziness that John Sproles engages in, carries on with, you would think that he actually likes being a defendant in court cases, and you know, God love him. So does his sister, Connie. Connie, what's her? Rich Wine, Rich Wine. I said it wrong. I think Connie Richwine. I think I got that wrong when I first said it. But anyways, yeah, she's been trying to engage in libel today, and so it's just her brothers told her to stay off of social media, but they apparently can't. Hell, if they can't control her, nobody can. You know what I mean? And so that's bad. But yeah. So last night, the sheriff's candidates, all of the sheriff's candidates, except for Randy Howard, which I don't really consider him a sheriff's candidate. I consider him more of a comical relief. He's like the comic relief of the process. Okay. So he was not there, but all the rest of them showed up to the Libertarian studio. I don't know what the name of their studio is. It doesn't have a name. Just the Boss Hog of Liberty studio. That's not really fun. That's just kind of blah, whatever. Anyways, and it was I don't know. Does Dakota Davis not? Is it frozen? Are we frozen? Everybody say no. No, the video is not frozen. Get out of here. It should be Comedy Central. Yeah. I don't know if Dakota Davis is not part of the show down there anymore or what, but I don't ever see him on the program, and I guess I don't really get it, but he's not been on for a while. But they did have their a co-host on, which is current Henry County Council member Betsy Mills, and Betsy apparently had to wear sunglasses because the lights inside the studio was hurting her eyes or something like that. I don't know. Very strange. Here, I love this face that she's making, man. This is such a... I want this picture. So I'm going to screen grab this because I want that picture. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I'll do some great stuff with that weird picture. Anyways, they have them all in studio. So from left to right, we've got the sheriff himself, John Sproles. We then have Jim Nicholson. We then have Mr. Hogg himself, Jeremiah Morrill. We then have Betsy Mills. We then have Jason Williams. And then over here in the right, we have Craig Ring. And obviously Randy Howard, Randy Sproles, John Howard. So they're all the same. There are two sides of the same defective coin. I'm telling you, Randy was not there last night, which was sad. But the sound was much better, and so we're going to listen to some bits and pieces of this, and I want you to hear this initial. I'm gonna let this play, and we're not gonna listen to lots of this. I'm just gonna jump through parts. But basically, what they do is they do that thing where he asks a question and he goes like from left to right, and then the next question he goes from right to left. So like he asks a question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then question 2 gets asked of 5. So one person always asks 2 questions back to back, or answers 2 questions back to back. And to me, it just felt like a lot of questions were being asked of everybody, but Sproles did the majority of the talking. I know this is supposed to be the Boss Hogs of Liberty, but it was like the Sproles show. But it's always like that there, because keep in mind, as soon as Sproles got elected to the sheriff's department, he put Jeremiah Morrill on the merit commission, and it's like, oh yeah, wonderful. This is fantastic. How great. And so yes, I just see your comments, Kate, 1000%, and it is in real life, but I don't know. It's so strange. Yeah, we'll talk about that. What we ought to do, man, I tell you, if you guys could see the private chat sometimes, you would really be shocked. No, you really wouldn't, probably. But okay, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this, and let's listen to what's going on here. I will tell you, I'm impressed. They are an absolute professional podcast. We were told last night, I was in the comments making some comments, and some of their biggest fans were very welcoming, and they were saying, like, ooh, Kristopher Bilbrey's here to observe an actual professional podcast. And I'm like, yeah. I always love those podcasts that shoot for the, the 150 to 250 viewer count. They really have a place in my heart. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. Oh God, there is no sound. Oh my God. Maybe I lied. Maybe they didn't fix the sound. Why could I not hear them? Let me make sure my screen is right. Okay, it looks right. We're going to try this again, ladies and gentlemen.
It's gonna be, just put a couple Dexters in it, and it'll be permanently up there. Push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. I guess we didn't really poll the audience as to how much it takes to total an animal. I gave my number.
Total. And we're gonna have our treasurer candidates.
That's right.
Exciting.
And we're gonna be on Monday of next week.
Between Blunt'sville and Los Santville.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to the party.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself, your background, and what made you jump into the Henry County Sheriff's race.
Well, of course, my name's Craig Ring. I was born right here in Newcastle, Henry County Memorial. I grew up a small farm in Bluntsville, Indiana, between Bluntsville and Los Santville. I went to school at MODOC, which is Union K through 12. I graduated in 1988. Of course, I'm 55 years old, if anybody has to do the math there.
Saved me the effort.
Am I the oldest or youngest, or I bet Jim's got a little bit on me.
He don't want
It's not my turn.
Well, they're all well behaved today.
I thought we said never ask a gentleman his age.
I for the women's questions.
Age discrimination.
Yeah, right. But I guess one of the main reasons I jumped into the candidates race is I want to make sure everybody gets the right treatment, whether they be on the wrong side of the law, the right side of the law, or right down the middle. It seems to me, running around in the country doing some campaigning, that everybody has the same questions I have, or the same concerns I have.
I get the impression, and maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but when Craig is saying this, I get the impression, just from this video here, that he's like kind of looking at Sproles as he's been saying this little bit right here. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I'm going to leave that statement right there. I don't want to offend
he looked right at him
in the room. But there's a lot of concerns in our communities that have been brought to attention.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and we'll get to know you further as the night goes on. Jason Williams, tell us about yourself, your motivation for running.
Okay,
Welcome
so
back. Thank you.
I just wanted to, we're not going to go and listen to everybody answer this question. I just thought that was interesting when Craig Ring said that part. And basically, he didn't say anything there. He just told who he was, whatever. But he says, basically, which is not like a why you're running, because obviously you decided to run beforehand. But I get what he's saying. He's basically saying there are a lot of people in the community that have issues and concerns and questions about the sheriff's department. And it seems like a lot of people have some of the same questions and concerns that I have about the sheriff's department. Now, listen, I'm going to be honest. We're going to have Craig Ring on this coming week. I don't know what date. Let me see here. We're going to have Craig on. We're going to have him on Sunday. He's going to be on Sunday. And I've had some people ask me, and I'm going to tell you fairly why. Some people have said, why do you not give Craig Ring the same crap that you give Randy about running for sheriff, because he's not a law enforcement officer? And that's a good question. And I'm going to tell you, I feel the same way about Craig running that I feel about Randy running, as far as I honestly, listen, the Indiana Constitution and the current law in the state of Indiana says who can run for what. And if they meet the criteria to run, they have the right to run. I think they should be able to run. I am not saying that he shouldn't run, and I'm not saying that Randy shouldn't run. I'm saying Randy shouldn't run for various other reasons. Now, one of those in my mind as a former law enforcement officer is I have issue with someone trying to lead this department in this day and age with no law enforcement experience. Can it be done? It might be able to be done in some crazy way. I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that. But the reason I am willing to give Craig more space than I am Randy is because, number one, what Kate just put on there. First of all, Craig is saying, I don't have law enforcement experience. I don't have law enforcement experience. I'm not a cop. He's not pretending to be a cop. He's not pretending to be a corrections officer. He's not telling anybody that he has experience with the H143 ribbon, the initial ribbon dancer string, or whatever. Like what Randy is saying. He's coming at this, in my opinion, as somebody in his position should come at it. I've got some issues with this office. I'm legally allowed to run for it, and I've got issues, and I hear other people have issues, and I'm running because I don't like what I'm hearing, and I want to make it better, and I want to try to make it better, and I think that I can. And I can respect that. That is not what Randy has said since day one. Since day one, Randy's came in saying that he knows all this stuff, and he's going to just completely streamline this, and he's going to do things different, and heads are going to roll, and investigations are going to be started, and he's just completely made up this biography that he's literally got some people to buy into, and I've got a major problem with that. So I respect what Craig is doing, because Craig is just acting like a man that's mad about what's going on. Randy seems like a madman who's crazy and a liar. And, you know, we don't need another one of those leading the department in Henry County. That is the sheriff's department. That's nuts. So I want to say that. Okay, now back to this. I want to jump forward here and let you hear Sproles' answer in this mess.
I think that's where the biggest improvement for us needs to happen.
We the commander of the road, the first four.
John Sproles.
Here we go. So this is basically the very first question for Sproles, okay? And Jeremiah Morrill says, so John Sproles. So now he's up and he's going to get to answer the first question. You know, who are you? What are you doing here? And yada, yada, yada. Okay, listen.
Yes, well, thank you. I want to start this off with an apology, actually, to Captain Jim. At the first forum at the library, I made a comment that I didn't feel good about. It was just unprofessional, and I tell our guys, look, if you do something you shouldn't or say something, just own it. So, Captain, I want to tell you I'm sorry. So, we'll start with that. So,
okay. So, starting there, I guess I want to say, if that's sincere, I feel like I can respect Sproles for doing that and saying that. Okay. I have a issue with that being sincere. I don't know if it's sincere. I think he's found out that I feel like he's found out that hurt him, and that gave Jim Nicholson a boost. And so I think he's trying to get back some of that political capital that he spent on that ignorant statement that he made. And while there were some people in the comments saying, like, good form, because that's what you say, I don't know how real that was, and so I don't know. You know, I apologize, but the problem is when somebody like Sproles burns the trust and you lose trust in that person, it's hard to give them that trust back to say, okay, well, this is legit, because I don't buy it. But
my history. I was born in Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. And we moved up here 42 years ago. My dad and mom moved up here to pastor church. And I've been married for over 31 years. I have 4 beautiful children, ages 28 to 14. And one brother, 2 sisters. My brother obviously is the Sproles at the funeral home, who has served families here in Henry County for 37 years, I believe, in the funeral business. So I was sworn in as a reserve deputy on my 21st birthday.
Moving forward, nothing news here.
Back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, they cut one of those positions out. And so we only have 28. I feel like we need 30. Over time, I would like to see us get up to that. But I think the main thing that I want to continue doing is taking good care of our officers, which we have done. And this is the first time in, I think, the history of Henry County Sheriff's Office that our officers are finally paid what we call average pay.
The county, and they had to, I guess, recuperate over the last few years.
Moving forward.
We progressed over that next year with
and I've always thought we need more patrolling in our area.
Okay, so now they're talking about take-home cars.
Especially the small towns that do not have part-time town marshals, or some of our town marshals have been eliminated from and then some of them's not even been replaced, that's passed away or decided that they didn't want to deal with it anymore. But anyway, I'm more looking towards the public. What are we going to do for them, and not the sheriff's department? The sheriff's department's getting everything they need from what it sounds like. I mean, my tax dollars say they are. So that's just that's how I look at it. We need more protection for our public. The drugs run rampant where I'm at. I got to watch the windmills, the wind towers come in. I was in the bottom of all 48 wind towers. And when those wind towers came through the piles of money, the piles of drugs, and unfortunately the piles of money left, but the drugs never did. So now we have to deal with mostly, if you will, meth heads. I'm just going to say it the way it is. Call a duck if it quacks. But now we got to worry about defending our homes and our property, and no matter what means we have to, because that's what we're allowed to do by our constitutional rights. But I'd like to see more patrolmen in our area. I mean, we pay just as many tax dollars as a guy in Newcastle does.
Craig, I have a couple follow-ups.
Okay, listen.
First of all, I apologize for the sunglasses. We got really good lighting in the studio, and my eyes are very sensitive. So I'm not trying to look like a rock star here. I look silly, I know. But
she gets on this TV show and gets pretentious on it every time.
Just to clarify, and I apologize for my ignorance, do you have specific law enforcement experience prior to now?
I do not.
Okay. So, but you've got like fresh eyes.
I got fresh. I'm from there. I've seen it happen.
Sure.
I've watched it happen.
Yeah. And you mentioned
I had it happen to family members and friends. I know what it's like.
Sure. And I want to clarify, you mentioned Randolph County and you mentioned the windmills. You also mentioned drugs. I want to connect these just to make sure I understand. Are you saying that with the huge amount of money that came in with the wind turbines in Randolph County, are you also saying there came in drugs or desire for drugs or money to purchase drugs? Can you clarify that point for us?
I'm going to say about all the above.
Okay.
You didn't notice it much. You did notice it.
I don't know anything about it.
You didn't notice it much before the wind towers.
Okay.
But during and after,
Sure.
it's really showed its face.
That's really, I would never have made that connection. That's kind of shocking. Another good reason maybe not to have wind in Henry County. Sorry. Got to put my plug in.
I always said I always said I got to watch them go up, and I sure hope I get to watch them come down.
That's right. They will over time, piece by piece.
They already are.
Yeah.
All right. So, Craig, the next one is a question that stems from a lawsuit, and a lot of folks have pointed at this for some of the county's insurance woes. And it's the question of a pursuit. We had a Henry County deputy that pursued somebody up into Delaware County, and it led to a fatal crash. Somebody ran away, and there was a fatal crash on McGalliard. In your view, what's an appropriate police pursuit for the sheriff's department? We'll go there, and we'll go around the room for it.
Each individual, I said, needs to think ahead. I mean, I heard speeds on that particular one you're talking about of over 100 mile an hour through town. That's just hearsay on the street.
Jack.
That's entirely too fast, especially in Ball State area. A lot of traffic, a lot of pedestrians. And then I can give you another, for instance, here. It's just been Mr. Sproles, John can probably tell you a little better timeline than I. We had an abandoned house just down the road from where I live, as a matter of fact. And the chase started right there. It's a junction of State Road 35 and 875 East. And when the I was standing in my driveway when I seen the first vehicle flash by, and I really wasn't sure what it was. But when the second two come back, I knew exactly what they was because the sirens was blaring. And I'm not sure how fast they were going, but I live in a very well-constructed home, 2x6 walls, Anderson windows. And when the two sheriff's cars came past my house, it literally felt like they was trying to suck the windows right out of the house. They were moving so fast.
If they'd been Pellas, they would have gone right through.
My road's only exactly. My road's only 3/4 of a mile long. And I thought, maybe it was a little excessive. I wasn't in the situation for it. So but I guess common sense plays a lot. If we don't have common sense,
here we go,
running through high trafficked areas, or maybe we shouldn't be in a cruiser, or maybe we should have some more training.
So if I could comment on that pursuit he's referencing there, make a couple comments. Common sense, it's actually due regard is what is the main thing in really all that we do, but pursuits. But that pursuit that you were referencing, that ended up taking a very serious violent felon off of the street. He had been wanted, had warrants for ages, and very serious violent criminal acts. So that led to his arrest the next day. It was a stolen vehicle. And I want to speak to the 100 mile per hour that you said you heard. Captain Williams will attest to this because we've heard all of the radio traffic from that. The only time that 100 miles an hour was mentioned was literally, I think, a half a second before the crash happened. So it wasn't like they were going 100 miles an hour through town. We heard 90 miles an hour on State Road 3. You can go up there and run radar and catch pedestrians doing 90, 95 on State Road 3. So
those are quick pedestrians.
Yeah. So, pedestrians, not pedestrians, people in their vehicle. Civilians. Drivers.
Maybe the sheriff
rides his bike. He would want to talk to them.
They win the marathon.
Yes, he's the track coach. It's easy to armchair quarterback these things. And, we have to, I say this a lot, but I can't say it enough. We have to deal with facts over feelings. There are people who probably, I know this in some cases, there are places that you can't carry your rifle exposed in your vehicle because it's intimidating looking. I think Ball State campus recently removed the rifles from their vehicles. They have to keep them in the trunk. There's people that are sensitive to.
What the fuck does this have to do with them driving 100 miles an hour
nobody hates it worse
the
than
city
obviously
of Muncie and killing someone?
Past elementary schools, past downtown Muncie.
In rush hour traffic of people going to work.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Has he already said it was at 5 a.m.?
No.
Okay, no. He says that in a minute. It was 5 a.m.
Oh, good.
It was like 6.
This isn't about him making some comments. This is about him trying to cover his ass and lie.
Absolutely.
Because we listened to that chase.
Yeah, right. For anybody that hasn't listened to it, you can find it on this program. We have it here, the Political Spotlight. You can go back and listen to it. So I don't know what he's saying, but yeah, he's way off in his facts here.
Families that are affected, and me, I hate when a situation turns out bad. But you can't always, like I said, it's easy to armchair quarterback. That pursuit was investigated by the state police and the Delaware County prosecutor. No wrong done. So again, I hate it. I hate that it turned out that way. But I am not going to get into a flat no pursuit policy. There's too much. There is too much data out there where departments have done that. I was watching, I think, like Los Angeles, a county there, they had made them go to a no pursuit policy crime went out the roof. And they said, we cannot, because people they knew you're not going to pursue. So they're not going to stop. So it's complex. And again, due regard is the main thing. And those situations, they are rapidly changing. So a pursuit may be okay.
Of this specific pursuit, the Indiana State Police investigated it
for a while, and then you need to call it off. I will never, we keep talking about this one pursuit. I am not going to say that my deputy did something that he shouldn't, because he didn't. And again, state police investigated it. Prosecutor's office said, yeah, there's no wrong done. Yeah, I hate that it turned out that way. But here's what I want to say. That the reason that pursuit was happening is because the guy in the driver's seat kept putting his foot on the gas. Those were violent felons that had guns on them that shouldn't have. They probably shouldn't have been out on the street. But
the police officer continued putting his foot on the gas, and no supervisor or anyone called him off. That goes both ways.
Here's another thing. I've talked to insurance agencies about this. You can get sued. This insurance company gave me several examples where law enforcement agencies are getting sued because they started pursuing a vehicle and they terminated. And 15 minutes later, that vehicle, because they're drunk or whatever, hits and kills a family. And then they found out, wait a second, that department started pursuing them. They should have got them stopped. So we're going to go sue that department for not pursuing them. So it's lawsuits. You're going to get them.
Sounds like you're saying there's a lot of nuance here.
There is a lot of nuance there. Yes, yeah. It's complicated. Yes.
All right, we got a little out of order. Jason Williams, your opportunity on the pursuit question.
I will tell you, that time.
I am our department EVOC instructor.
Go see what.
And obviously,
he spent all that time talking, and they were completely out of order. There has to be blame struck between the need. There has to be a balance struck between the need for public safety and the need to apprehend criminals who flee, Hoffman said in his determination on not pursuing charges. Given the totality of the circumstances, assuming there is probable cause to believe that the deputy committed criminal recklessness on April 18th, 2024, I do not believe that such a charge would be able to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt at trial.
That is wildly different than saying that nothing was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're saying we just can't prove it.
Yeah.
And that is different than all is well.
Yeah. 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 I'm glad you pulled that up, Kate. That's exactly correct. There is difference between knowing and proving. I'm pretty sure that and that's never been said there, Eric.
With that, because there comes a great deal of liability in that, and we knew that going in, and I knew that going into the training to become an instructor in that special.
We'll move forward.
I've been on the west side at the time, Jay Davis,
with supervision. And, your lead car, your driver, your police officer in the front is usually leading the pursuit. You have a young deputy who's 22, 23 years old, hasn't been to the academy yet.
Listen.
He's on his way home. And I don't blame him. I don't blame the deputy. But someone should have terminated the pursuit for safety reasons. Number one, he wasn't getting any backup from anyone in Delaware County or anyone in Muncie. And he was on his own on streets he didn't know. And I just think that he shouldn't have been placed in that situation.
Yeah,
but I don't want a Monday morning quarterback either. So,
Well,
and that's,
that goes back to what
that's something, I mean, that goes
none
back
of us
to what
want
to do that.
Yeah,
so.
that's what it goes back to what I said a while ago. It's the totality of the circumstance.
Right.
If it needs to be called off, we need to have people in charge that are okay with
but you don't even need a supervisor.
Right.
You can
listen,
have a senior
lowest
officer
guy.
that can.
It could be the lowest
guy. Correct.
If the situation dictates that.
So I want a couple things I want to say here. We do that pursuit was monitored. Again, we heard 90 miles an hour on State Road 3 at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we'll do 140 on State Road 3 and probably be relatively safe. That sounds kind of funky, but
5 o'clock in the morning.
So a couple things I want to say here, though.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Him not having been to the academy, I have heard that so much. That is not a state requirement to have been to the academy, and I know you know
right.
that. Yeah. So it's looking back, it's easy to say it should have been terminated because of the end result. Had they pulled over and got stop stick, we'd have never said, well, they should have called that off. We have called pursuits off. You guys have called pursuits off. And so and back to the issue about, this is costing, I hate it, but it's a part of doing business. It's just part of it. You're going to have lawsuits. You're going to have tort notices. And here, I want to point this out. We've had multiple pursuits prior to me being the sheriff. I'm thinking of 2 motorcycle pursuits where our officers, I wasn't involved, ran them right into their death. One of them.
What is he saying? I've heard him say this 2 or 3 times. And that's not, I don't know what he thinks he's saying there, but that's not a good thing. That's not like, oh, okay, well, that's happened. So yeah, you're probably right.
He says this in like every interview. We've chased people to death. Is he proud of this?
I think.
Or he's just justifying it. Like it's happened before, so it's fine.
Yeah, I think a little bit of those. I think a little bit of both of those. I think a little bit of both of those things. It's very weird. Very weird. Okay. Moving on here.
We knew who they were. They had a warrant. They're a local.
Colson, same question for you.
Well, I believe we have ever since I've been on, we've had a great working relationship with the state and with the county and even some of the town marshals.
This is good. They're talking about,
as it's been put in the past, bad shopping.
They're talking about the
bi-weekly
their relationship with other law
we
enforcement agencies around Henry County.
If these other officers are going to be working,
just sitting here listening to you guys.
All right, listen.
Aren't enforcing the laws the proper way, or maybe enforcing it the way they interpret the law to be, and it may not be that way. So I want everybody to be on the same playing field and have the same interpretations of the laws that's going on. I think that's important.
All right, Craig Green.
Well, I listen to these guys. I'm learning a lot. Believe it or not, I'm learning a lot. But I listen to these guys, and they talk about the relationship they have with with deputies in our county, with the city police, with the state police. But it seems like they don't have a very good communication, or should I say, with the surrounding counties.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it sounds like that there's not a very good working relationship with surrounding counties. From
you saying with Delaware County or
Delaware County or Randolph County or Rush County.
Let's give an example. I'm very close to all those sheriffs.
Okay, just sitting here listening to you guys talk, there ain't nobody talking about a surrounding county. And then we said that there was nobody helping a deputy that was pursuing a high-speed chase into Delaware County, and nobody's there to help him from Delaware County. And I'm uncertain of why something like that would happen.
I would just be clear. I think it's important that we be clear not to speculate on the reasons.
Exactly. So, and I guess what I'm saying is maybe if elected as county sheriff, I would reach out to the surrounding counties and try to better the situation, as if you will. I mean, like I said, I don't know the situations. Don't know.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from my perspective as a captain, and not to cut you off.
Oh, you're right.
But from my perspective as a captain, I'm very familiar with the Randolph County guys. Good friends with one of them in particular. I used to work with, who used to be one of our deputies. Rush County. I know the sheriff. Know all three guys that are running for sheriff down there. I'm good friends with Tony Skinner in Delaware County.
Okay.
I know Jeff. I don't know the Madison County guys all that well. I know some of the road guys. A lot of them have kind of changed hands. We've got one of them on our list.
Don't get me wrong.
So the working relationship is, I was just going local in county, but from my perspective,
we were talking about working relationships with the officers that we brought up the state police because they work in our county.
Well, and then that just kind of clarifies it, I mean, I'm not the only one listening here, and I just wanted to clarify for perspective that we weren't talking about other counties. We were just talking about state police and
who we commonly work together with. So
clarify.
Obviously, we have Sheriff's Association meetings regularly. I meet these guys regularly. I'm very close to all of our surrounding sheriffs and leaders. And again, Captain Williams, he works with all of the different ones. We have a good working relationship, a very good working relationship with all of them.
Something here, folks.
All right, we'll stay down here with you, Craig, and transition into jail operations. Something we talked about last week with the prosecutor candidates was how we try to minimize, or if there are opportunities to minimize, the head count of folks that aren't quite to sentencing yet in the Henry County detention facility. Do you have any plans or proposals to try to reduce the head count, or how long it takes somebody to get through working with prosecutors, judges, et cetera?
My feeling towards that is that pretty much lays in the prosecutor and the judge's hands. I mean, you can only house them. You can't force the courts to speed their process up. I don't know how to really answer that without being experienced in that operation.
Sure thing. Jason Williams.
Yeah, I think as sheriff, you most certainly can work with the prosecutor and the judges.
Okay.
All of your leaders in the county, so we're talking judges.
That they get a lot more continuances.
Sheriff, our inmate population was just rising on a very rapid rate. That's why we had to build a new jail. We were sued into building a new jail by the feds because of that being overpopulated. So that was on the top of my agenda, because I heard talk of, well, we just need to build a $10 or $15 million jail addition trial and get them out on 8 months on some dinky charge that they don't have the money to pay the bail. I have put a very serious focus on the mental health and the health in general of our inmates. Well, 3, but I believe it was just 2 days ago. So I haven't, no. So he said, listen, this individual's full of cancer.
Listen to this.
I mean, if I understand you correctly, and past administrations, the vast majority of folks who are incarcerated are there, and they have, it may not be the only reason, but many of them come in with significant mental health challenges.
They do. And let's just put it the way it is. Many of them, maybe the majority of them, come in with serious physical illnesses. The majority of our people are in jail because of drug-related items, drug-related issues. So when you come into jail, we do not, the medical company does an assessment, but we're not going to give you an MRI and all of that. So there are people. I want to give you an example. This is very important to talking about this case, and I'm going to talk more about it. But we had an officer that arrested a lady. brought her up to the jail. You go through a full body scanner. It's like an x-ray machine to see if, you swallowed any substance. And our x-ray machine caught there's something that looks like they swallowed a bag of dope. Go down take her to the hospital. And they kept doing scans. Finally, the doctor comes up. The officer says, does this individual, do you know that if they have any pre-existing issues? He said, no. So he said, listen, this individual's full of cancer. So they both walk in the emergency room, and the doctor says to the person, have you had any issues that you know of? No, I feel fine. And he said, well, I hate to tell you this, but we feel like you have cancer. Listen,
I hate
3 weeks later,
to tell you
the
this,
person was
we
dead
feel
of
like you have cancer.
Now, the officer called the judge and said, okay, just OR them because of the situation. Had that individual came to our jail, they probably would have died in our jail with cancer. So some of these things you cannot pick up on. And I'm going to, this is going to be the place I'm going to break some breaking information.
Listen,
okay. I have not gotten into the online chatter.
All right, hold on now. Here is Sproles. Okay. Now I want to put this up here. This is very important. Sproles breaking news. Okay. This is Sproles breaking news. All right. Sproles breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not got involved with the online chatter. That's all he's been involved with. That's what he did for the last 3 years was online chatter. Let's listen.
We did make a video. I put a video out regarding the Nick Gully situation.
Listen to what he says here.
Putting out the facts up front.
Let's listen to what he says.
And of course, it has been a wild fiasco of social media chatter, but there has been an investigation from the highest investigating agency on the federal level. It has been completed in that case. This is breaking news. And it has been determined there was no wrong done. That's breaking news on your show. I'm breaking that. I hate it.
Which organization investigated?
I'm going to leave it at the way I stated.
Okay.
Yes, because that's the way they requested me to leave it.
Sheriff.
Whoa. Hey.
A federal agency told him you're in the clear, but don't tell anyone we told you that.
Yeah, you're in the clear, but I'm going to request that you don't tell anybody, okay?
What?
Yeah, keep that way clear. You can't tell anybody. Don't campaign on that.
No, you can tell them that you're in the clear. You just can't tell them that we told you that you're in the clear.
I think it was the DECIABI that investigated that. It was the DECBI. Yeah. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. So I'm in the process of getting that. I have sent out a request for just exactly what the hell it is he's talking about. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go back and play that because I want to cut this part, and I want to go back and play this and cut this because I want to put this in a portion. So I'm going to put this up. Don't put up any comments for a second. I'm going to go back and put this up. Just 1 second. I'm going to go back and play his nonsense here. Okay. And because I'm going to use this to cut this and use this to question what the hell it is he's talking about. Here we go. we go.
These things you cannot pick up on. And I'm going to, this is going to be the place I'm going to break some breaking information. Okay. I have not gotten into the online chatter. We did make a video. I put a video out regarding the Nick Gully situation, putting out the facts up front. And of course, you know, it has been a wild fiasco of social media chatter, but there has been an investigation from the highest investigating agency on the federal level. It has been completed in that case. This is breaking news. And it has been determined there was no wrong done. That's breaking news on your show. I'm breaking that. I hate it.
Which organization investigated?
I'm going to leave it at the way I stated.
Okay.
Yes, because that's the way they requested me to leave it.
Sheriff, when was that decided?
It was decided 2 days ago.
Okay. Just
curious. 2 days ago. It might have been 3, but I believe it was just 2 days ago. So I haven't, I haven't, you've heard all of the ranting and raving about it, and I hate it. A young guy is dead. I hate it for the family. I hate it for everybody involved. But again, back to, we've got to deal with facts, and while being respectful to feelings, that's the way I like to say it.
Okay. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I'm sorry, John. I don't buy that. I don't think that's right. What agency? What load of bunk? I just don't think this. So I'm in the process.
And a federal agency finishing up an investigation in 2 months?
That's the other thing that I have a hard time believing too. I think that's a really good yeah, he asked AI. Yeah. Yeah, he says I'm breaking news, and then he doesn't say anything. I mean, he didn't say anything, because he's been saying they didn't do anything wrong. He's been saying they didn't do anything wrong since day one. We didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. So I think that's what the most people were like saying last night. Like, what is he actually saying here? That's nuts. That's crazy. I can't believe he just said that. So I'm looking into this. As soon as I know, you'll know. But I really want to get to the bottom of that, because I think he's full of shit.
The facts are no wrong done. And
about this
terrible that you have those situations.
It was about this point in the event where people start saying things like, why is he getting to talk as much as he is? Why is he, he shouldn't be running the show? I said, if it's public, tell us. He's trying to get people to believe his lies. Basically, he said nothing.
But there are 20. What is it? There's a stat out there, like 27 people die a year in county jails.
All right.
There was 3 that died, just 3 last week in Miami Correctional Facility. And so
Jim Nicholson.
I just can't believe it.
As the sheriff, protect the county, not just our department, but the entire county.
Thank you. Let me say another important thing. It's very important.
And listen, see, so it was Jim Nicholson's time to answer. So then it should have moved on to Jason Williams. Sproles says, let me say another thing about that real quick. And instead of Jeremiah saying, well, Let's hear what Jason has to say. He says real quick to Sproles.
Yes. So we did call the medics and have them take him to the hospital very quickly after the appearance of some decline. So, there's talk about he got lifelined out of the jail and all that. He died in the jail. No.
I don't know anyone who said that he got lifelined out of the jail or he died in the jail. I've never said that. I would never say that. I would clear that up. If I heard someone say that, I would clarify that. I've never heard that. I don't know what he's saying. John is putting misinformation out there because I don't know that I've never heard anyone say that.
When the medical staff determined that we need to get him to the hospital, that's exactly what we did. And I cannot do anything beyond that. When you need to go to the hospital, we've got to get you to the hospital. It's exactly what we did.
Right.
All right. Jason Williams.
From my perspective, it's been a while since I've brought somebody in off the road and booked him in the jail. But I would want our correctional staff and the deputies bringing these guys in, obviously not only do the proper book-in procedures and the questions and medical history and things like that, but I would want them to be treated if they have medical issues and medical problems, to be treated like they were family, like how I would want my family.
I'll tell you, you don't know. You can only go by what you are told.
I mean, and the correctional staff and the officers, whether it's city, county, state, whoever, we recognize that and we take them to the hospital for medical clearance if, they present an illness or an injury.
About policing philosophy, and you're looking at the department. What do you think they do really well today and the biggest opportunity for improvement? Running for sheriff, obviously you've got a critical eye and you've got changes you would want to make. What are they doing well? What should we be fixing?
I'm not going to say what they're doing well because as the public, you don't ever hear about anything that's good. You hear about what they've done that's wrong. Like I said, you can do 100 rights, but you do one wrong, and that's what everybody remembers is the one wrong. I would say public awareness, maybe a little better communication with maybe a little better research on your public before making an arrest. Before you make an arrest, I mean,
what do you mean by that exactly?
I'm trying to word this so I can word it right.
Sure.
But what I mean is, for instance, how do I want to say that? Get to know your public. I mean, you can have a guy that's 100% by the law. He defends himself one time, and false accusations get him thrown and incarcerated over something that's not true. That's what I have a problem with.
Sure. So that's a hypothetical.
That's a hypothetical.
Do you see that as a
problem
that we have that in Henry County?
Is it really a hypothetical? Let me ask you that.
No, it's a hypothetical. Talking to the community, yes.
Sure.
Talking to the community, yes.
Absolutely.
On my journeys through the.
Well, of course, we all want good.
So, I'm just going to be honest. You saw what Sproles just did there, right? So, Sproles is trying to ding. I heard it before I even said it. Sproles is trying to ding ring. I love I said it. It's a Friday, folks. They're right. This is not as professional as Boss Hog Liberty. Look how professional they are. This is far less than professional than Boss Hogs of Liberty. Say it all day, every day. I'm going to always say the number 2 most professional podcast next to Boss Hog of Liberty. That's going to be the tagline. Sproles is trying to ding ring for the criminal charges pending against Ring. That's what he's talking about. That's what they're talking about. That's the reason Sproles got that little smirk he got when he gets a little red and he gets a little tingly. See, Sproles turns red for a couple different reasons. He turns red when he's mad, but he also turns red when he gets excited and he gets to say something right there. And so that's the reason he just spoke up and said, "Oh, but is it really a hypothetical?" Yeah, that's what Sproles is doing there. Look at him. He's still, he's ready to pounce. He's like, "I just apologized to Jim. It's time for me to say something stupid to somebody else."
Communication and relations between the public.
Yeah,
and
I think that's where you're, like I said, trust and law enforcement is.
Why is John talking? What was John saying there? What was he trying to? Shut up. Do you hear any of the other candidates doing that? And I don't care if it's ring talking or not. Like, obviously, Sproles has a problem with ring. Let's just face it, okay? That's fine. Listen, Sproles sees ring as a criminal. That's Sproles. Sproles has a problem where you are at his level or below his level, and there's only two types of people: people that Sproles looks at his level, or people who are below him, and that's really a lot of people. And I'm not making a character or personality assessment on Craig. I'm saying Sproles sees Craig as a bad guy. That's what Sproles is doing. Sproles shouldn't be commenting on ring, period. That if I was Sproles, I wouldn't. If I was Sproles, I wouldn't talk about any of these people. I'd act like they didn't exist in the race. Run your race, Sheriff. You don't need to talk about any of these people. But Sproles is petty.
Is where it all begins.
Absolutely.
If you have no trust, it's no different than an employer or a child. If you have no trust, you have no trust. They're the last people you're calling for help.
All right. Jason Williams. Sorry, we're still sharing microphones.
Yeah, I will talk. I could talk all night about the good things that our deputies do, because as a whole, we've got good guys. We've got good people. And like I alluded to earlier, there's a lot of them. We're a young department by age and by experience, but those young guys do a good job. And so, I could go through each individual one of them. Obviously, for the sake of time, I won't, to say everybody.
We'd like to get everybody out before breakfast.
I understand. So I won't do that, but I could talk extensively.
Because if you do it, John will go twice as long. And
that we can do a better job of. I'll leave it there.
All right, Jim Nicholson. It's the compliment sandwich. What are we getting right? What do we need to work on?
What are we getting right and wrong? Mm-hmm. As Jason stated, I know John will, that really the officers, the deputies, are very well trained. They're very motivated. A lot of them have found their niche in certain aspects of law enforcement within the county, whether it's from serving warrants, working traffic, but also having each deputy assigned to a town or township.
You'll ever meet. And so.
Oh, here we go.
I can't worry about anyone else.
What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong?
That comes with the general election. So, a lot of people will say, oh, well, the president, he chooses someone. No, he doesn't. He doesn't choose until the general election. That's when you choose your inmate. So, and if people choose sooner, that's fine.
Okay.
That's they're right. So
I knew Jason Williams had said that it would be Brandy Pierce there, and I'm sure if I assume you're still with Josh Smith.
Yeah, so that is a very important thing, and I could not be more happy than to have a chief deputy who's been in the sheriff's office for 28 years, one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet, and so it's been great to hear from the other guys. Here's the bottom line. Bottom line is that the Henry County Sheriff's Office is in the best shape it has been in for a long time, and we take good care of our officers. Our staffing, we're fully staffed. Our recruiting, we had 9 laterals. That means officers from other agencies put in our last for the Henry County Sheriff's Office. The state police had 14, I think, and they're recruiting from the whole state, and they pay big money. So the culture at the sheriff's office is great. We have focused on training. We had $0. There were $0 that had been previously budgeted for training when we took office. We used to, get declined, like you can't go to that training because we don't have money for it. We can't go qualify with our guns because we don't have ammo. That has happened in the past. We have never turned down any officer who wanted to go to a specialty training. I promised that from day one, and we haven't done it. So the bottom line is the sheriff's office is in a beautiful state right now, and we just want to continue that. Our officers are happy; they're being taken care of financially. physically, mentally, and spiritually. And the Lord's helped us to make some big changes, because this right here wasn't the case previous 3.5 years ago.
All right. Craig Ring, everybody got the chief deputy question. I know we didn't get to you. Have you made a decision, or do you know who you want as your chief deputy?
Why did Sproles not mention anything that he could do better?
I haven't made no decision. I've talked to a couple guys, but I'm gonna leave it right. Just like I'm kind of like Jim on the situation. I'm really worried about myself at the moment.
All right. And if you could do us a solid, it looks like Captain Williams' sign has taken a nosedive up front.
Thanks, Greg.
Sabotage.
Very aggressive crew.
I saw it kicking over here.
Betsy, Mr. Bones is not here. He's my normal co-host, and he had some dental work that did not go particularly well today. So you're going to fill in for him, and he has the patented personality segment.
He sure does.
Let's get to, maybe we'll limit it to 2 questions today, and everybody get a chance at it. We'll try to be somewhat brief, but we're through the worst part of the real meat and potatoes. Now we're just getting everybody's personality. Mr. Bones is not here. Mr. Bones is not here. Mr. Bones is not here. He's my normal co-host, and he.
Okay, so Dakota Davis apparently is no longer around. His head is up here, but apparently he's no longer a part of the show. I didn't know
dental work that did not go particularly well today. So you're going to fill in for him, and he has the patented personality segment.
He sure does.
Let's get to, maybe we'll limit it to 2 questions today, and everybody get a chance at it. We'll try to be somewhat brief, but we're through the worst part of the real meat and potatoes. Now we're just getting everybody's personality. Going to go out on a little bit of a high. So Betsy, we'll start.
Man, you're killing me, because I have
I know.
I came in with the deep dive.
I know.
All right.
You do what you want. We're going to limit it to 2 and try to get me out of here by midnight. Okay. We'll start with Craig Ring.
All right. I did not write these. Okay. All right. Craig Green, childhood celebrity crush.
Childhood celebrity.
I told you I didn't write these.
Now realize that
probably have to go Madonna.
Okay, I'm going.
She looks good. No, you take that back.
Hold on, what is this?
I was born in the 1980s, and I have no idea on that one.
You got to look her up here.
All right. We're not even going to know the name of his childhood crush. That is back there.
Jason Williams, who's your childhood
before
crush
the
on there?
talkers, John.
Oh, childhood crush. Probably Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers. I thought she was.
Oh yeah.
All
right. I don't care anything.
Anyway, dispatching. My question is,
I'm glad that we're asking these questions. I mean, in a race, it's like this is this is what you get at a professional organization. So,
question is, the shutdown of these 2 dispatch centers in our county. So it's all centralized. It's all central now. Central dispatch. How do you think that has impacted public safety since then?
You start with John.
You go. I don't think it's impacted.
It's not impacted. I think it's a good thing.
All. I mean, it would be nice to probably have another dispatcher in the control room,
yeah,
or in the dispatch center. There were times that I dispatched, but no, I don't think now some.
Yeah, we're not having to switch over to Middletown or switch over to Knightstown. So I like it.
All right.
Now I would add that. Excuse me. I would like to add that I miss it being at our police department.
Sure.
We used to have the 911 dispatch center at the city building, and
it's probably nice to be able to walk down the hall and talk to your dispatcher.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Craig, you had.
I have to agree with John on being in management most of my life. The less people that's involved, the better communication there would. Less room for. So from my perspective, I think it's actually helped. And Jim can attest to this, because when I was a part-time dispatcher.
Okay.
And that happened a couple different times. Fiscally, does the return on investment with regards to centralizing our dispatches equal?
We're still on dispatch.
911 calls.
I don't. So, I don't want to watch movies.
Don't pretend like you don't know who people are. You just gave me Pamela Anderson last time.
That was from my childhood. Okay, I haven't watched 5 movies in the last 20 years of my life, so I don't know who's. So I don't know. I just would hopefully.
Anybody out there? Let's say TV.
Hopefully they're good looking. So I don't know. All right. Sorry.
He dodges that one. I'm gonna remember that in the motor booth.
Anything else I should throw?
No, you did great. We can move into final thoughts. We'll work our way around the room. Jim Nicholson, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
If folks want more information on your campaign, they want to volunteer, want to donate, how?
Thanks. And no, I usually I'll take those calls or I'll come out and see you. But message me on Facebook if you want to sign, and at the polls, reelect Sproles. I would be honored.
Very good. Producer Zach, you've been over there real quiet tonight.
Yeah.
You've been monitoring the chats.
It's been busy.
Anything you wanted to ask about or weigh in on?
No,
you good?
No, not really. You're too tired. It's been a long day already.
You've done a phenomenal job. This sounded very good in our ears, and you've done a great job.
Yeah.
So thank you for your service.
There's been a lot going on. I got screens going on over here, and I've used my administrative power.
You've been meeting some people?
I haven't muted anybody. I made some comments disappear, and I've gotten messages from people saying, "What'd you do that for?" And I told them why. I don't care.
There's been a few unchristian.
This is Yeah, this is my feed. I can.
We're
Let's
gonna
be
double your
honest.
paper tonight.
There's tort claims getting thrown all around by some people, so I just don't want to be the targeted one. So if I feel like deleting some people, I'm going to delete some comments.
I also have a real big problem with that. I have a major problem with that. And Mason Rottinghouse, whoever the hell that is, has the balls to say that they are a more professional podcast, but they're censoring people because why would the Boss Hogs of Liberty be censoring comments? They're a libertarian podcast. Ludicrous. They've not been a libertarian podcast. They've not been professional. Hell, their sound hasn't worked in 3.5 years. Everybody there is voting for Sproles. Well, maybe not all the candidates, but yeah, what a ridiculous! How ridiculous! All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I did want to just cover that because I said that we would. Absolutely crazy. It is what it is. We will be here tomorrow night for a. Oh yeah, tell me. I don't know that that's true. When we had a bingo winner from when?
We did. I got cornered at the gas station and yelled at.
A bingo winner from when? From the Q&A?
Yep, from the Q&A.
Because he did not mention me, so there's no way.
No, he did. There's a 4 right across the middle.
Who did?
He did all of them.
Who did?
Sproles. He said, "Be humble." Yes?
Yes.
His ears turned red.
Yes.
He said, "Interesting."
Yes.
He asked Josh to answer.
Yes.
And the middle is Sproles. That's bingo. He even whipped out his screenshot of the bingo card.
That's probably my fault because I don't know how to play bingo.
Yeah, ding-a-ling.
I thought in order to get a bingo, he had to say everything on the card.
No, bingo is all across, diagonal, up or down.
Oh, then we probably had several bingos. Well, everybody would have been bingo because all the cards were exactly the same.
I know all the cards were exactly the same,
So
but he's the only one that snagged me and said there was a bingo.
No, that night Diane said bingo.
Did she say bingo too? She got it.
I just thought she was saying it because I was like, well, they've clearly not said everything.
Bingo, you have to get all in like tic-tac-toe in a row. That makes more sense to you now?
See, Michelle, thank you. It can be a coverall. That's what was going on in my mind. Listen, I'll be honest, because I seriously thought that he would say it all. I
thought he would say it all too. I thought he would cover the whole card.
We do have a new card coming for Monday.
Oh, I sent it to you.
Okay, you already have.
If you want to look it over and make sure it's good. Now we're keeping some of them.
Yeah, we're basically
changing out some of them.
Yeah. We won't say until Sunday. I will tell everybody we will be here tomorrow, but tomorrow is going to be a quick one because all we're going to do is we're just going to do the candidate interview. Tomorrow we will have Rachel Parham. I think that's how you pronounce it. She's running for clerk of Henry County. We had her opponent on last week or the week before. But Rachel Parham, I think that's how she says it. We'll ask her tomorrow. I think she'll be on tomorrow, and so that'll be tomorrow at 9. Just really quick, I'm upset because he didn't mention me. No, I just knew he didn't mention me. So to me, I knew, well, okay, he didn't mention me. So because he didn't mention me, I knew he hadn't. No, it doesn't have to be a code. It doesn't have to be a. You know what? We come up here real quick, Kate. Is there a way
to randomize them?
No, because it would be hard to get that out to people.
Right.
The other grandma would know. She's in the grave. This grandma probably would not know.
Oh, okay.
No, this grandma would know how to play bingo.
So is there a way to what?
I was going to say to randomize it, but there would be a way to randomize it. There's just not a way to get it out to the different players.
Right.
I was getting. This is basically a
who's paying attention?
Folks. Yeah, right. Who's paying? Clearly, I haven't been. Which I'll be honest, I wasn't. All I was doing was I was checking it, and I know I probably missed one or two because I was more concerned with what he didn't mention Mark Nicholson. He didn't say Mark Nicholson, but he did say
about an attorney.
The attorney, and that's what we actually had. We didn't have Mark Nicholson's name because he
never says his name.
Yeah. That's hilarious, Jack. I appreciate it. I like it. So, okay. Well, I appreciate that. It's who can stay and listen to it all. Diane's right, but I do apologize because Diane said bingo during the game. She did. I think Diane should have won a T-shirt in a size 3X so her husband can borrow it. Good. I'm glad that hey, listen, Admiral, you're such a good dude standing up for her husband. So we'll see what we can do in that regard. I'm glad that you care so much about Diane's husband. We'll see. We'll see what we can do for Diane and her husband. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be here tomorrow. It'll be a quick one. Tomorrow we'll just do the interview with Rachel. We will then be back Sunday night. And the Sunday night will be with Craig Ring. We will do Craig Ring. And then after Craig Ring, we'll have we'll have a second bit to the episode, but we're going from there. And then, so that's that. And I do manage to always mess up like all contests. Either I don't fully understand what's happening, or we just say, yeah, we're going to have a big contest, and we don't do anything with it. But that's kind of hey, that's why we're not as professional as the Boss Hogs of Liberty. They have the absolute best contests. Worst sound, worst questions, censorship sucks, but they're professional. So, all right, you guys take care. God bless. Have a good night. We will see you back here tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Thank you for everything. Thank you for our candidate, and goodbye.